Toronto Maple Leafs have a massive opportunity as a new target has been revealed for the Leafs, and there's various rumors going around circulating that this player could end up on the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to break down those rumors and discuss if he is a fit for the Leafs in this offseason and how he could be a very interesting pickup if they decide to go this route. So we're going to break that down in this episode, but before we do, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed, about 71%, make sure to hit that button. It would mean the world, as we're on the road now to 12,000 subscribers, and your guys' support has been unbelievable. But Darius, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. And this is an interesting player. And if you've been following our streams a little bit, or even if you've just been around Leafs land, this player has gained some traction surrounding a maybe could be a good fit for Brad Treliving, and it is Ryan Johansen. So we know a couple days ago, the Flyers placed Ryan Johansen on unconditional waivers for the purposes of terminating his contract. He has 1 year left on his deal and $8 million remaining. Now, there's a lot of interesting things to discuss regarding this player, but a lot of rumors, no concrete reports yet, but a lot of rumors have been circulating around. He could be a very good fit. We obviously have had some videos on some other players, some PTOs, Matt Martin. We've talked about Cal Clutterbuck a little bit, how he could be an interesting signing. And we see some other things here. We have Banksy. I'm terrible for every UFA should be a Leaf, but a big center who scored a lot on a league minimum deal could be nice. And that's the key part here. It would be on a league minimum deal if the Leafs decide to go this route. I'm curious about what your thoughts are on this. We saw a lot of people in the chat in our stream a few days ago really like this idea. So I'm curious to see what your thoughts are, and I think it could be a very good fit for the Leafs.
Well, I've seen a lot of it online, right? And like Banksy said, right, I've seen a lot of, every player is a Leaf at this point in the offseason, but I think the Leafs have to take a look at everyone who's available, right? Because they have to try and upgrade the team. Now, like you mentioned in our stream, a lot of people were bringing up Johansen. Oh, you know what? He's been terminated. It could be an option for the Leafs now, as it wasn't before. I'm going to say, personally, my feeling on it, I don't really like this player, especially for the Leafs. And I haven't really liked this player, since he came into the league. I'm not saying he's a terrible player, but I just don't know, especially for the Leafs, if he would be a fit for the Leafs, especially at this point in his career and what the Leafs are trying to do. And on top of all of that, right? And I'm not saying he's a terrible player. I feel like, some team will get good usage out of him. But, at this point in his career, especially with him dealing with, the injuries, and he's going to get a surgery coming up here soon. So he probably won't even start the season, like his agent came out and said. I just don't think the Leafs want to deal with that. Could he be a second line center option? With Tavares slowly, dwindling, his responsibilities dwindling, maybe, but that's a huge maybe at this point. And I just don't know if this is a good fit. It's something that, you could potentially look at, especially if, he'd be willing to take on maybe, $1 or $2 million or something, but he's not going to do that because I think a team is going to pay him a lot of money to play still. But I wouldn't deal with that if I was the Leafs. I wouldn't want to put myself in that situation because he is dealing with a lot of mysterious injury stuff dating back to last season, especially when he got traded to the Flyers. So I wouldn't do it if I was the Leafs, and I don't know how people feel, and people might think that it's a good idea, and we'll see it in the comments, but I don't know if the Leafs should touch this one.
It fits right into the jar of weird injuries, and if the Yanni Hakanpää thing, they could add to that fire of just confusing injuries. But again, if you didn't know about the injury, his agent released a statement on his behalf saying that they will file a grievance following the Flyers terminating his contract. It's that Ryan Johansen has a severe hockey injury that requires extensive surgery, which has been scheduled. Since being traded to the Flyers, Ryan worked in good faith with the club, its medical staff, and authorized third-party physicians. And the Flyers' attempt to terminate Ryan's contract is disappointing. So there's a few things going on here, and I understand the perspective of you, and I'm sure a lot of fans feel this way. At the same time, though, we're talking about the Leafs needing to add some depth. Now, whether that's to the forward group, whether that's in this case a center, he would be the most, at least assuming he's available for league minimum, the most established guy that is left on the market that's realistic for the Toronto Maple Leafs, in the sense of someone, we'll bring up his stats here, someone that can still play. Now, he had a very rough season last year, especially for his standards, and even the past couple of years, he hasn't been completely up to par. But when you're looking at players that are left that have a ceiling that is, like you mentioned, a top 2 center, whether even if it's a third line center, depending on what it is, he is only 32 years old. He is aging a little bit, but he's still only 32. And assuming he heals from this injury, I don't know if they have, because I've been on the fence talking about how they need to add pieces to the team that actually are going to get NHL minutes. Now, Cal Clutterbuck, there's probably, and I'll ask you this, maybe you'd rather a guy like Cal Clutterbuck who, provides some other things, some intangible things as well, but if they're able to get him for a league minimum, I like the move here, just because of when we see how good he's been in the past. He's only 32 years old. Yes, the injury is concerning, but at a league minimum, it's not a huge commitment, and I'm sure they do their due diligence beforehand. But there's a chance that if they sign him for a league minimum and he ends up being partially healthy for 50 or 60 games, he could put up 40, 50 points if everything goes well. Obviously, he hasn't shown the ability to do that the past year or two, but I have some faith in it if it. I have to be on the side of liking the signing because I've been talking about the Leafs going for depth and guys that can actually play on the NHL, and that's what this guy is, as opposed to some of the other guys we've been talking about, whether that's Alex Steves, whether that's Alex Nylander, and guys like that.
I think that's the only thing I do like about this, if it were to happen, right, is that he has experience and he's played in the NHL for a long time and he has playoff experience going multiple rounds deep into the playoffs. So that's the only thing I kind of like about this. But I think if you look at the Leafs lineup, if you look at daily faceoff, because it's not done yet, but if you look at what the lineup looks like right now, I mean, they have Domi projected as the second line center, but I think third line center, but I think Holmberg probably takes that spot. And I think at this point in time, I would prefer Holmberg over a guy like Johansen because Johansen's getting older. Holmberg is younger. I love the way Holmberg plays. I'm a really big fan of Holmberg, and I think he should take on more of a role this year. And I think he's going to have to because the Leafs, bottom six is looking a little thin. But I think I would rather them spend money on a guy like maybe Clutterbuck because, you know what he's going to bring. You need an identity in your fourth line again because we saw a little bit of that in the playoffs, and I thought it made a huge difference against the Bruins at times. But they need more of that. So I'd rather spend money on a guy like that because I feel like the lineup is kind of going to figure itself out on the third line. And I don't think they're done yet either. We don't know if what's going to happen with Yarncroke. And if he does stay and he does play, I think that's a fine option on the third line as well. But I don't think Brad Treliving is done yet. I'm sure that they're looking at Johansen, right? I just don't know if it fits with the current makeup of the team. They could possibly use another natural centerman, like you said, that might be something that they're looking at because, having Domi there, it's just projected again. I think Holmberg probably takes that spot, but having Domi there is not ideal to me. I would rather have Domi on the wing. He can excel better there, but yeah, lots going on. And I'm sure that they're looking at all the options, but I don't think Johansen fits for the Leafs at this point in time. There's a few things to like, but I think the negatives overshadow it personally.
Yeah, this is also without Nick Robertson in the mix at all. And he obviously, if he's on the team, he's going to be in here somewhere. But yeah, you'd figure if they do sign Johansen, he'd slot into the third center spot, and then you move everything around, whether that's Yarncroc gets put out or he gets moved down, whatever it ends up being. But yeah, I don't really see a world with the Leafs on October when they play the Montreal Canadiens. They start with Max Domi as that 3C. But I mean, there's a world. I feel like it would be Pontus Holmberg or someone else, and then for the fourth line center, I mean, maybe Johansen would be willing to go to the fourth line center. I don't know. I'm more of a Johansen fan than you, obviously. But
there's also a world, just to interject for a second too, that Camp doesn't start the season either. Maybe he's moved. Like Brad Treliving just came out and said that he's not finished yet. So the lineup, it looks like that right now, but I don't know if it's going to look like that against Montreal on day one.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. This is another perspective of it. It's August 20th on board. So would Johansen be a fit for the Leafs at a league minimum? More of a defensive role with Colorado last year and struggled to produce offensively and had okay line mates. Decent PK or one faceoffs. Toronto needs a 3C meh option. I mean, he would be the third line center if they sign him. And I think that's a decent spot for a guy who at one point was a very good center in this league and still can provide some interesting things, but maybe Cal Clutterbuck or someone else would be a better fit. But let us know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on this, and do you want to see him as a Maple Leaf, or are you on the side of Darius and more so would pass on that for Clutterbuck? Let us know. We'll see you soon.